Welcome to Wealthy Mind, where we talk about all things finances, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the surprising.
Welcome to Wealthy Mind. I am Misty Rosegold, International Success Coach, and today I have Greg Reid with me. Do you prefer doctor or just Greg?
Just Greg. I mean, I got one of those honorary PhDs, so technically I'm a doctor, but I got it
That's awesome. All right, so thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate your time, and I want to take a moment and ask you a few questions and inspire others who are chasing their dreams. They're after their goals, whatever it is, even if they're stuck. Like, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing these interviews. We just want to make sure that we are providing role models and inspiration for younger generations, older generations, and everything in between. So I want to talk about your book today, 3 Feet from Gold. What inspired you to create that?
Before we do that, since we're talking about goals, we're talking about dreams, things of this nature. The first book for those of you who are new to me, I've been published in 143 books, 45 languages, have a star on the Walk of Fame for writing these books, but I'm dyslexic, can't spell, can't read, can't write. So I have amazing ghostwriters that take my words and they craft them in a way people want to see it. The first book I did was called The Millionaire Mentor. And one quote from that book was shared 37 million times. And I'm sure you've all heard it before. You just didn't know it's from me. It says, a dream written down with a date becomes a goal broken down becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action makes your dreams come true. And when I did that book, I was turned down 268 times in a row. And then 269th publisher says, we'll do your book, just change the title, beginning, middle, end. Tell you, it was horrible because, again, I'm dyslexic. I didn't read very well. So I got a ghostwriter who really breathed work into it. And the moral of the story is that we need to learn to work our strengths and hire our weaknesses. Where in today's society, a lot of times people say, work your weakness and get stronger there. And I say, no, don't do that. I say, find what you're really good at, what you excel at, and then surround yourself with amazing people who can lift you up and work their strengths, and together, all ships rise. All right. So there you go. So that's the first thing.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes. It's kind of like focusing on the positive moving forward instead of focusing on what you don't want.
Well, exactly. Yeah. And Rumi, the great philosopher, had a quote. He says, whatever you seek is also seeking you. So unfortunately, if we seek bad, that's what we'll tend to attract. If we seek good, that again is the same thing that we bring into our lives. So for example, I every day say, how can it get even better than this? What's the possibilities of what can be? And all of a sudden those things start appearing. But if we start looking at, what's going to go wrong today, trust me, you're going to find that too.
Exactly. I love that. I focus on all the positive. I always focus on the blessings in the day, looking at like the good in every situation, no matter how tough it is, no matter how grueling it might feel in the moment. There's always so much good that we can find. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So what inspired you to create 3 Feet from Gold?
Well, so I'll give a quick little backstory. There's a book written 100 years ago by a guy named Napoleon Hill, and it's called Think and Grow Rich. And what happened is in 1908, he had a meeting with the richest man in the world, Andrew Carnegie, who gave him a letter of introduction to meet his friends and wrote the first ever formula for success. 100 years later, the Napoleon Hill family and the foundation that bears his name wrote me a very similar letter. And so I had a Willy Wonka ticket to meet any human alive. And so we wrote 3 Feet from Gold based on the first chapter of Think and Grow Rich, where it's a story about a guy named R.U. Darby who has gold fever but knows nothing about gold. Goes out west, starts digging, finds a couple nuggets, gets excited, buries it, hides it, goes home, tells his family. They tip in money to buy equipment to pull it out by the ore cart. And the first cart that came out was filled with gold, but then the gold ran out. Defeated, Darby quits and says, I'm done, and sees a junk man walking by. Says, hey, buddy, give me $200. I'll say the mine, the deed, the equipment. I'm not a mining guy. I'm going back to something I know. The junk man surveying the equipment was worth 10 grand because the family chipped in, gave him $200. Darby goes home defeated, but the junk man goes to an engineer, says, what happened? This guy hit gold and ran out. And the engineer says, that's mining 101. Everyone knows that gold runs in a straight line called a gold vein. What Darby is, he hit it, pop back into dirt. He says, go back where they discovered treasure, go 3 feet, 90 degrees, will tap back into the vein. Not only did the junk man pull millions upon millions of dollars out, but that's what fills Fort Knox today. And the moral is, how many times have we or someone we know quit one class short from a degree or a marriage or sales or marketing? It's easy to quit, but it's the people that go that 3 feet. They're the ones that we tell the stories about.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. So what was your biggest challenge when you were writing or creating the book? I know you talked about dyslexia. Is there anything else?
Oh, nonstop. Everything's a challenge. So again, first there's a dream, then there's challenge, and then it's victory. Most people quit in the challenge times.
Right.
That's why they got to do it. That's it. And the secret is surround yourself with people that will, give you counsel and not opinion. And what's the difference? Opinions based on, oh, that's you. I'm supposed to have a call with you. Opinions based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, or inexperience, like someone who's never done what you're about to venture upon. Counsels based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. People have paved the way. So if you go to a family friend like I did, say, I'm going to become a best-selling author, they're going to try to talk me out of it to protect me because they know I'm dyslexic. And guess what? They've never written a best-selling book. So I went to Barnes and Noble and bought every best-selling title, called them up and said, how did you do it? They taught me. And here we are today.
That's awesome. I love that. So what is your greatest success story with your books? One of the books, even 3 Feet from Gold, like the impact it's had on other people possibly.
Well, for 3 Feet from Gold has been translated in, 38, 40 languages, I believe. It's sold millions of copies, but that's not the impact. The impact, especially being an author, is the connections and relationships that are generated along the way. So what happened is I sat down and interviewed everyone from the guy who invented string theory to the guy who started NASCAR, from Miss America to Mrs. Fields Cookies, from the founder of Chick-fil-A restaurants down to the guy who created the credit card magnetic strip. And I built relationships with them and started an event over my shoulder here called Secret Knock, where I invited these people to come in to meet my other friends. And I made a business out of just sharing my friends and resources and connections with other people.
That's wonderful. Network is everything. Absolutely. And, most people don't understand this, but the secret to success in anything in life is all based on relationship.
Yeah.
It's a relationship with ourselves, relationship with others. And that's what it comes down to. Like, that's the secret formula there. It's like, get your relationships right and you can do everything else. And it's like, I see a lot of people struggling as entrepreneurs or attempting to own a business where they're trying to do it all on their own. They don't spend the time connecting with others. They don't spend the time building relationships. They don't spend the time surrounding themselves in that community. And they can only do so much.
Yeah.
Like they fall down, they break down, their business fails, whatever it is, because they're trying to be that island. And it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yes.
Majority of the businesses fail because I'm going to give you guys this is a pattern interruption. Some of you are not going to like this, but I'm going to give it to you.
Do it, bring it.
Look, I did this recent title. It's called Wealth Made Easy, where I interviewed people worth $100 million to $1 billion. And I remember I sat down with one gentleman and I said, why are you worth so much revenue and I'm not? I go, it makes no sense to me. I'm just as connected. I have same actions. I have the same people. Why? And he looked at me straight in the eye and says, because you believe all the bullshit lies that you're spreading to the world. And he goes, I hope you continue to do that because you're making us very rich.
Oh.
And I stopped and said, well, teach me. And he says, Greg, you're the purveyor of the greatest lie that's ever been told. And please, again, continue to do that. And I said, what's the lie? And he says, to follow your passion and the money will follow. He goes, it's complete and utter bullshit. And what do you mean? And he says, well, you find someone who works as a welder, an admirable profession. They work, they retired, they got some money. They get excited, go to a Tony Robbins seminar. They tell them to find their passion. They open a yogurt shop, and guess what? Within 12 months, they're out of business. Not because they're not passionate, not because they have the capitals, because they're a welder. They know nothing about the yogurt industry. But with them, more importantly, they hold on so long because it's their baby, their passion, that they go under the water, like holding on to a ship's anchor, and they pull their car and their house, their boat. He goes, we come in and buy that pennies on the dollar. And I go, what? And he pulled out a phone and it had one of my memes on there. And he goes, follow your passion and not a paycheck. And goes, that's why you're broke, you dumbass. I went, what? And he goes, look, he goes, we're like a game of Frogger. We ride a log, and as soon as it has a dip, we jump to the next log. We can't go down with the ship. It's just business. He goes, we'll file bankruptcy before we'll lose all of our stuff. It makes no sense. We'll just do it again. And he goes, do you think that the sheiks in the desert right now, or the Gettys, had passion for crude oil under their feet? Come on. He goes, you think that aggregate dealers have passion for sand and gravel to build the freeways? Do you think waste management has a passion for dirty diapers and rotten cheese? But they built every university, the ballet, the arts, the football, everything you know and love. He goes, the secret is to build so much wealth and prosperity on unexpected opportunity that you use that money and resource to finance your passion. You guys just put it in reverse. Interesting, right?
Yeah. Oh, I see it all the time. I see a lot of people that are following their passions and they're broke. Now, can you figure out a way to make it lucrative? Sure. Definitely.
But if you go back though, again, if you look at all the wealthiest people, they just found an opportunity and they capitalized on it. Look, Elon Musk was not passionate about a monetary system. He found a new way of doing it, started, PayPal, and used that money to roll it over and now he gets to do things he loves. When you go back and look at the earliest interviews with Jeff Bezos, there's an internet thing. He saw an opportunity to sell some books on there, borrowed money from his parents, started this little business, and then it turned into the juggernaut. They saw opportunity and they capitalized on it. The sport king of Wisconsin, or the cardboard champion of Milwaukee, they've got more wealth and prosperity, and they're doing it because it's not flashy and loud money. It's quiet money done right and building a foundation. Then they use those resources to do what they love, investing in the football teams and things of this nature.
That's awesome. So if what I'm hearing from you is find a need and go fill it, right?
Yeah, and look for and capitalize on unexpected opportunity. The founder of Chick-fil-A restaurant said a great line. He says, look, he goes, if I'm on the sofa and I want to get to the end of the street, he goes, I'm gonna stop planning. And I go, what? He goes, stop planning. He goes, last year you had a lot of plans. It doesn't work out. You might hit a goal, but it's just not gonna go as planned. He goes, if I'm on the sofa and I want to get to the end of the street, I get off my backside and take action because the universe rewards momentum. He goes, but a planner plans every step and pause. And if a sprinkler comes on, it goes against plan, they run back home, not me. He goes, I look for a skateboard or a bicycle that a kid left out and borrow it to get to the end of the street. If I get lucky, a neighbor drives by and I'll hitch a ride. He goes, either way, I'll get to my goal. I just don't mind how it has to happen. And that's the challenge of why most businesses fail, is because they're so caught up in the exact how rather than the opportunity of what can be.
Yes, I tell all of my clients, favor follows the brave,
Yeah,
which means get your ass out there and start doing stuff. Even if it doesn't work, you have to try things.
Well, again, Bob Proctor and I wrote a book together, and it was called Think and Grow Rich, Thoughts Are Things. And we realized that thoughts are not things. It's just a bunch of woo-woo crap. But thoughts only backed by action become things, because everyone had $1 million idea in the shower, but you didn't do anything with it. So thoughts are. So the whole thing is only thoughts backed by action become our truth. You got to think it, feel it, but get off your backside, take action. You got to do it.
Yep. That's the secret, right? So, what is your greatest personal challenge that you've had to overcome in your lifetime to get where you are today?
Again, every single day in my world is some form of a challenge. I guess I just look at it in a different perspective. But I mean, there's so many of them. I mean, I've been married and divorced 3 times. I've had businesses that succeed and some that don't do so great. This month will be 35 years sober, that I don't drink and use drugs. I mean, it's a constant thing. But again,
can we talk about that one?
Sure, but I just want to say,
drinking. Yeah.
But the main thing is, though, I don't live in that. I mean, I don't stay in that. So
Of
even no
course.
matter how bad a circumstance might be, it's just something I'm getting through to get to the other side.
Yes, yes, exactly. So if you would, I'd like you to talk about the drinking and the drugs and all that just for a moment to inspire the people who might be going through that same struggle right now. And look, like, give them a glimpse of where they could possibly go with their life, because look at what you've done with your life.
Yeah. Well, it's just because everyone's got a different perspective of this one. And by the way, here's my little chippy do.
Aw.
Very rarely do I even share that stuff, but it's just next week. So it's kind of like on my forefront of 35 years is pretty insane.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
so,
Congratulations, by the way.
yeah. So when I was 24 years old, I was just an abuser. And so I checked myself into a rehab center. No one
Mhm.
made me. I just wanted to do it because I knew I was going down the wrong path. Not hope, wish, believe. I knew it. You know, when you know something. And so what happened is I remember I was going to leave though, because I didn't like the program. I didn't like everyone telling me to do a chant and do these prayers and to put a bumper sticker on my car. And I go, this just wasn't my thing.
Uh-huh.
And I was going to leave and I walk outside and the guy comes out and says, hey, before you go, over there's some sand. He goes, grab a handful of sand. Great metaphor. And I said, why? He goes, grab a handful of sand. And this changed my life. He says,
Mm.
when people are giving you their input, it's not to mess you up. They're just giving you input from their point of view. It's all they know. All you know is all you know. So when someone says, hey, put a bumper sticker in your car, if it works for you, keep it. If not, you let it slip through your finger, but just say, thank you very much. Don't argue, don't
Mm.
about it. So someone says, hey, put a bumper sticker. I drive a Ferrari. Thank you very much. You go, hey, join a men's group and do this right. Well, that makes sense. Hey, you should do this. And as you close your fist, the sand you keep becomes your program. And that's what I did. So I did not do the exact A to Z version of what most people would do. I did my version that worked for me. And by doing so, has done
Okay.
so for all these years and helped other people do the same.
Oh, that's awesome. That's wonderful. Um, what is your bigger why?
Say
What
that
do
one
you do?
more time.
What is your bigger why? What's your North Star? Why do you do what you do? What drives you? Like, is it the impact you have on other people? Is it your your family that you might have? Like, what is your bigger why? What motivates you? What's underneath? What's in your heart?
Yeah, that's the eternal
Mhm.
search, right? Who knows? I mean, and I think all those whys change nonstop. You know,
Mhm.
when you're younger, it's ego, right? Look how great I am. Then after a while, you know, it changes to finances. And then after that, it changes to, oh, I'm doing it for my kid. And then from there, it goes. It's a moving target, and everyone
Mhm.
has a different version of it. And I think it's omnipresent and constantly moving. It's kind of funny. I'll be 60 and my kid's 10, right? So we're like billion years apart.
You
And
look amazing for 60, by the
oh, thank you
way.
very much. So my whole thing is that I realize that there's no such thing as legacy, and I know it's weird and blah blah blah, but I just don't believe in legacy. Um,
Okay.
so only because at the end of the day, look, when I do these seminars, I go, hey, whoever can name their father, raise your hand. Everyone, their first name. How about your grandfather, your great grandfather, your great great grandfather? And there's no one. After just 3 generations, no one can name even their great grandfather's name. And
Mhm.
that's your own blood. That's your own legacy. That's who you're made of, for God's sakes. And you don't even know that. What
Mhm.
chances do we have really of leaving this legacy, right? Let's cut to the chase. And so it was so funny when I had a chance to do this star again in Vegas on
Uh-huh.
the trip. I was so excited because I realized, I go, my kid's never can go to my grave, but for the rest of his life with his kids, he'll go to Vegas and go, there's my pop, right? And
Yeah.
so I think what it is living in the moment and living by example, because that is the legacy you pass on. It's like a baton, right? So you have
Mhm.
a baton, you pass it on right now to that person, and then they carry it on. But after just 3 generations, they forget where they got it from. And that's fine. But as long as you're leaving a good example, I think then that's your true story that you're leaving behind.
Yeah, I like that. The example. I mean, it's what people think about us.
It is
It's
what
the
people.
impact.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm doing a new project right now over my shoulder. It's called Lunar Legacy because, again, I just have my belief system. Everyone doesn't have to.
Sure.
It's mine. So what I'm doing is I'm writing this book where it's this fictional character that goes on this journey where he realizes that on the planet, on the moon, there's only 12 people that have ever walked, and the only DNA proof that they were there is in feces and urine bags left on the moon. True, right? There's no DNA. So what happens is he takes people's swabs of their cheek and asks them that one message, if they could leave anything for next humanity, what would it be? And he puts it on this laser disc and actually inserts it on the lunar rover that's going to go up there on the Falcon 9 launch next year. And then that will sit on the moon for eternity. So in 1,000,000 years from now, if other life comes, they can see the actual DNA makeup of what was on the planet. And I'm actually doing that project. So people literally can leave their DNA and their story on the moon forever.
Oh, that's cool.
Different, right?
Yeah, I like that. It is different. It's really cool though. So what do you want your kid to think about you?
What he does. I mean, we have a really good goals. My kid's a pretty amazing child, and everyone says that about their kid. But check this out: he had the #1 album on Amazon. He
Oh, nice.
when he was a kid, when he was 7, he had the #1 spoken word on Amazon, and he did a mantra. You know, my name's Colt. I'm happy, powerful, brave, wise. And my buddies put hip hop music to it, and it kind of took off. And what's really cool about him is that he actually applies the messages in which we're teaching. So we don't control or dictate what he does. What we do is we taught my former wife and I've got the greatest ex-wife in the world. I know it sounds weird, but she's amazing.
That's awesome.
And so what we do is when we co-parent, we decided to really focus on the EQ skills. Reading, writing wasn't a big thing for me. It was more, can you communicate and say you're angry, tired, you're frustrated? Can you negotiate a Twinkie off the kid in the playground for your tuna sandwich? That's what I care about, right?
Right.
That's the real lessons you'll take. And he's really, really good about that. I'll just tell you real quick, one quick story, because it was really interesting. It's just recent. We're doing finally after COVID, we did a party. And I said, Colt, I go, I need you to do yourself a favor, go upstairs. And I go, I want you to make the bed and clean your room up, stuff like that. We're gonna have a bunch of people over. About 10 minutes later, one of his friends comes down. He has a handful of bills, dollar bills, and he gives it to his dad and goes, can you put this in my bank? So yeah, I go, where'd you get that? He goes, oh, from your son, Colt. I go, Colt. I go, come down here. I go, yeah. I go, what in the world? Why did you, what's this for? And I asked the kid, so how did he pay you money? What do you do? And he goes, oh, I made his bed and I cleaned his room. And so when my son came down, I said, why would you do that? And he says, Dad, work your strengths and hire your weaknesses. I had other things to do. And so right then and there, I went, you got a shot.
Right. I love the creativity behind it. Like, that is just, it's amazing. If you think outside of the box, like so many people get stuck in that black and white thinking, right?
Well, it's the same thing as the kids. I mean, do you pay your kid to do the things that they don't like to do around the house, like mow the lawn, wash dishes, do whatever? And most people say, yeah, I'm gonna teach the kid the power of respect of money. But think about it, we're training our kids from the earliest of memory. The only way to make money is to do something they don't like. That's what we're training our kids. So my kid, so sad. So my kid kicks ass at making these TikTok videos and reels and stuff. So when he sees my Instagram, I got a couple million followers. I say, hey, instead of me paying you to do this stuff, why don't I pay you to make me my videos? And I go, in return, why don't you just make the bed and do this stuff as contribution back to the house? And then he pays another kid to do that. So the whole idea is teaching these lessons. Again, that's the baton we're doing. And hopefully they can teach it to somebody else later on.
That's awesome.
All right, I got to wrap up. Any last question for me?
Yes. So my favorite question to ask, what do you do to keep a wealthy mind? And what we like to say is that that's a healthy mind.
I surround myself with people that I have respect for, not people I have influence over. I'm gonna say again, surround myself with people I have respect for, not people I have influence over. Unfortunately, most people want to be the big dog in their little chirping group. And to me, I surround myself with people that I idolize and constantly ask them for counsel, not their opinion. And by doing so, amazing things start coming our direction. And we can do anything and everything the moment we start seeking people that have already accomplished what we want. So for example, if I was going to become a car dealer at a new Jeep dealership, first thing I would do on day one, I'd say, all right, who's the guy that rings the bell the most? And then I'd say, set me next to that person. I don't want to be next to all the new trainees. I want to put me next to that person. And that's the mindset that most people are missing. They have something called the bad case of the one size. I'm going to take action once I get the kids out of the house, once I get the big break, once I have that opportunity.
Right.
Make that opportunity the moment we have that mindset, get off our backside, take action, and move toward it.
Oh, love it. Excellent. Thank you so much for all the wisdom that you've shared. Where can people find you? What's your website?
Just go to Instagram. It's the easiest way. Greg S. Reid, DM me and say, hey, peace. I don't like to talk about the weather, what your kids ate for dinner, but if you sit there and say, hey, what's a good business book? Who should I know? I'd be glad to respond to you personally right from me, okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have an amazing day. And if you haven't already, please download Wealthy Mind. Thank you for your time.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Mind podcast. Please be sure to download the Wealthy Mind app today and make sure to support your local Dress for Success.